FM News Talk 97.1.
On demand audio.
I am really excited about this book. It's Mugged: Racial Demagoguery from the 70s to Obama, because I know if this book had been out when I was in college, this would have expedited my conversion, because this was one of the first things that did not make sense to me about the left. And Ann Coulter, New York Times bestselling author, is on the phone with us. And Ann, I'm so glad that you wrote this book. I'm so glad.
Thank you. Me too.
Yeah, and it's brilliant, because you don't see books from, basically you don't see books from white conservatives that get into the issues of racism and its effect on politics and how the left uses it. And when you were writing this book, you had to anticipate that the left was going to have this knee-jerk reaction to write you off, because they're going to prove your point and write you off as a result.
Right. Although, luckily in some ways and unluckily in others, it turns out liberals can learn. I thought they couldn't. They can't learn that you shouldn't bow down to terrorists. They can't learn that if you cut taxes, more revenue comes into the government. But they can learn that attacking Ann Coulter when her book comes out is going to sell a lot more books, and they'll lose the argument. And so they've sort of been easing off in their usual strategy over the last few books. And I've been telling my friends, I can say anything now. The official position of the left is Ann Coulter doesn't exist.
Oh, I love it. I love it. They're afraid of you, and you do so fantastically, even without them trying to give you the free publicity of freaking out over everything that you say. But in
this particular case, it isn't. I just did The View, and
wow.
Whoopi began by saying something like, "You don't know how black people feel." And I said that, well, luckily enough, this isn't a book about black people. It's about white liberals demagoguing the issue of race, which is doing absolutely nothing to help black people.
Right. And it's ironic that they would even start it off that way, because it's white liberals who think that they know all about the black experience.
Exactly.
Did they sit you next to Joy Behar?
Yes, I love Joy. In fact, I'm going to be doing her show on Current. I used to do her show on CNN all the time. Unfortunately, now you're going to have to stand out on your porch with an antenna and some tinfoil to be able to watch me on Current, but I like her.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I think they proved your point with this. One of the things that you get into so much in this book, but I love how you go through all of the crimes that are actually ignored, or when people, for instance, the Trayvon Martin case. You said that you wrote that the bank of white guilt has been closed because of cases like the Trayvon Martin case.
It was. Actually, it's OJ that I think closed it down. And for about a dozen years, America was a much healthier place. It was one of the best things that had ever happened for race relations in this country. Weirdly enough, OJ was better for race relations than Obama has been, because white people just saw blacks cheering that verdict, a majority black jury acquitting an obviously guilty black criminal. And they took it all in and said, okay, that's it. White guilt bank is shut down. Hope OJ was worth it. And it was a much healthier country then. People weren't walking on eggshells, worried about anything they would say about black people would be turned into a racist remark. If there was an obviously black criminal, you could say he was obviously guilty. It allowed Republicans to pursue important policies that we had wanted to pursue going back decades on criminal law and welfare. And, welfare reform was so successful that Bill Clinton began claiming credit for it. Giuliani alone, and there were others, Giuliani's criminal law reforms in New York saved tens of thousands of black lives. But now with Obama, it's all come back, and it's worse than it even was in the 70s and 80s.
Yes, absolutely. And then we find out Cato Kalin says that OJ was guilty. I know, that's it.
You know what? I knew that.
We knew. But do you think that is the bank of white guilt, is it completely shut down, or is it just shut down for conservatives?
No, I'm saying Obama opened it up again.
Right.
That's why this book has to come out right now before the election. More white people voted for Obama for president than have voted for a Democrat for president in about 4 decades.
Right.
Oh, no, it worked very well in 2008. And the point of my book is to say it has never accomplished anything good. White guilt has only done very bad things to America, very bad things to black people in particular. And, they tried, this is like Dinkins' reelection campaign.
Right.
When Clinton came to New York, Dinkins had turned New York into Dante's inner circle of hell. And Clinton comes to New York and says, if you don't vote for the incompetent black mayor a second time, you must be a racist. And thank God it didn't work, and Giuliani got elected.
And you even exposed, too, back in, pre-2008, dissent used to be patriotic. I mean, that's something Hillary Clinton had said. Democrats hammered it into our heads. Now, as you've written, dissent is racist. Even talking about health care is racist. Saying the president's middle name.
Any criticism of the angel Obama is evidence of racism these days. This week, Chris Matthews launched the word apartment as being racist.
Yes, that's racist too. Everything's racist. You think that, and you wrote this in the opening of your book, which I agree with. I think this is, and I no one's really exposed this and talked about it at this extent that you have. You discuss how media and Hollywood and, the A&E community, academia, everything has kind of promoted this ideological segregation it's based on skin color. How different do you think race relations would be today if we didn't have those instigators around?
Well, it would be like that period of paradise immediately after the O.J. verdict. And, one other thing that makes me kind of angry about the media and Hollywood, but it is corrected in my book. There are all kinds of stories in my book of truly courageous black heroes who will testify against their fellow black people. I saw the kid mug the cop. You had the jury. I think it was 4 blacks on the Bernie Getz jury, black people who lived in the mugger's neighborhood. You had blacks rushing out to save Reginald Denny's life in the middle of the L.A. riots. And on and on. Oh, and in the one of the early stories in the book was right after when John Lindsay was elected mayor of New York on white guilt, though he himself was white. There was an incident at a Louis Farrakhan mosque where New York City policemen were ambushed, a policeman was killed, and the Lindsay administration totally covered it up. Well, years later, the killer was found when one of the black Muslims in the mosque, and he had to go into witness protection program for it, testified. He said, Minister Farrakhan teaches us that we must always tell the truth, and he testified against the killer. He was there. He saw it. It was incredibly brave. Why aren't their stories told? Why is Hollywood celebrating gangster rappers and the people who shoot the cops, but not the ones who testify against the killers? I mean, there is incredible bravery coming out of the black community, and that's just washed away. We never hear their stories.
And it's an unbelievable thing to witness how the left turns against these individuals when they try to protest for more individual rights and less government. I witnessed a speech from Star Parker, and she said back during the 60s, the black community, they band together to get the government out of their lives, and now you have people in the black community banding together to bring the government back in. What is the entire goal of the left attempting to control people this way and ginning up these race, just all of these racial tensions? What is the ultimate goal in all of this?
All the causes they really care about, like abortion on demand, gay marriage, gays in the military, rights for homeless people, big government staffed with heavily unionized government workers who will always vote Democratic. No, the Democratic Party pretended to care about black people for about 5 minutes, and now they just invoke the black experience in America and civil rights in order to further causes that not only have nothing to do with black people, but most black people oppose, like abortion and gay marriage.
Yeah. No one attacked the black community over Prop 8, but they went after the Mormons and everybody else. And then in California, it was the black community and the Hispanic community that made up the bulk of the vote.
Yes.
And that's stunning to me. Well, it seems like there isn't any progress in an era where we have, this is supposed to be what the post-racial president, and it's
rolling it back. It's rolling back the progress we had made, and it will be very bad for America. And again, most of all, black people. Look at their unemployment rate.
Right.
And with the president who's busily promoting illegal immigrants, well, whose jobs do illegal immigrants take? There have been a number of studies that illegal immigration is most harmful to the black community. Even Obama doesn't care about the blacks.
Yeah. Well, Mugged: Racial Demagoguery from the 70s to Obama, New York Times bestselling author Ann Coulter. Ann, it's always a pleasure. I love talking to you. This book is brilliant, and I'm so glad that you wrote it.
Thank you. Great to talk to you, Dana.
I'll see you again soon, hopefully. Take care, Ann. Thanks
Bye-bye.
so much. All right, folks, 866-455-9797. This is a great book. The closest thing I read to something that explored this topic at this depth was a chapter from Chris Hitchens' book, No One Left to Lie To. And this is way more in depth than what that was kind of like a footnote in Hitchens' book on the Clintons. But this is great. Go out and get it.